ended, and that we didn't catch the other one until afterwards, because that's just the way his financing worked.
Hey, Jimmy, the sales tax payable, or maybe Charles, is like 999,000. Is that sales tax? It's a liability. So why is that a liability?
What page are you on that?
On page 7.
Page 7.
Charles, you know what that is? Oh, we know.
That's revenue. It's in the,
revenue, Randy?
yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking at the 999,000, right?
That's the statement of changes, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's the revenue.
Where's the asset?
It's in cash, Randy, it's gonna be in current under their assets.
Okay. There it is. Looks like you're in pretty good shape.
We are, and that was one of the main reasons that when we presented the budget last year for the 2023-2024 year was to dedicate the $2 million for the infrastructure for the housing project. At the time, of course, we didn't know that we would get a reimbursement or that we would be eligible for the CFP grant that was issued out. But it's also my hope that the board will say, we've already allocated that money, let's use that, because the funding won't come until next year, is my understanding. And we're still waiting for the last part of the award. Obviously, Facebook hits, we all got excited about the news. It had been shared with us last week. However, they had asked us not to share anything with the public yet until the congressman had an opportunity to make his announcement. So we still have that money dedicated, which has been has not been used.
Till the end of the year?
It comes out in the next fiscal year.
Oh, it's at the end of September.
Yes, sir.
October, something.
But the way that we'll be able to draw on it still hasn't been explained to us yet. We're okay with the audit?
Looks good, Jimmy.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
You had an increase for board travel. Where are y'all traveling?
Which one, what are you looking at?
You had an increase on your board travel?
Are we talking about the audit or are we talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, no. I'm sorry. Wrong thing.
Okay.
Got too many notes. Sorry.
It's okay. Councilwoman, you were referring to which page of because there were, I believe y'all shared two different budgets, right? Is it?
Budget and the audit.
Yeah. Now, are we talking about the amended budget, or are we talking about the budget that was brought back in?
Must have been the first one. Well, it could have been the second one. I don't remember which one it was each time. But where you increased your board travel?
What we did, and I'll just give you a kind of overview, if that's okay. What we did was we did not renew the retail strategies agreement. They were helping us try and bring businesses. We took it upon ourselves to say we're going to go and do it, and so the directors and I felt that we're going to need to go ahead and add money in there because those were things that we hadn't done in the past, to go and try and do our own recruitment of businesses, of hospitality, of restaurants, retail, which luckily a lot of it we've been able to do over the phone, but we still made the adjustment because they still have one major conference that is a Red River conference, and none of the board members have ever gone. Again, it was just left up to retail strategies to do it, so that's the reason we converted some of that money in there.
So y'all are all planning on going to that?
We don't know. Obviously, we want them to be trained instead of just internet. we're not living in the days of COVID anymore, so we want to have that flexibility, and that's what the board had decided to do.
And then you also had increased travel by the director.
Well,
So is that in addition to
well,
Dan as well?
typically, they have two conferences, and then they have also mid-conferences that, my predecessor, Mr. Winkles, went to one, and so we decided that we were going to try and go to more so we could try and help recruit and come up with ideas, learn from what they're doing. The symposiums, the breakout sessions are very good, and actually it helped us get one project that I'll share with the updates in a minute.
And you travel $2,600 on page 31, that's excessive.
It's a good way of doing it, and that worked for us. Now that we can bring it back and
It is, and especially if the board's willing to go to some of these to help bring some of the ideas. It's no different than the TML that y'all do. The Texas Economic Development Council, they put on some very good sessions. They give us some great ideas, and if we are able to do some one-on-one and pick the brains of others as to what's working in their area, hopefully we can bring some of those ideas.
Are you redistributing that money from retail strategies into y'all
Yes.
going? Because I don't think anyone can sell your community better than you can. So, I mean, if y'all can attend these things, I mean, I think you were putting the money here, or you can put it here now. And, I mean, if y'all are, not that all of you are probably going to go all at the same time to each thing, but, if 2 or 3 of you can go at a time, and again, who's going to sell your community better than you? So I think it can be a good redistribution of the funds.
Yes, ma'am.
Since you're no longer doing the retail strategies.
Well said. Those were basically the sentiments of the board.
When I was on the agency, retail strategy really wasn't very effective.
I think the councilwoman was there, and she saw the presentation of the things that they had asked or taken credit for, which to me was not indicative of what had actually taken place. So it was just kind of the icing on the cake. But we also gave them an opportunity to help us with the Pecos Truck Village. If they want to help us, try and do some recruiting, if that is going to materialize, then of course we'll look at them. But if not, we're going to do exactly what the councilwoman said. We're going to go, beat our own chest and try and get people to come down here and provide quality of life for us and for our travelers.
So did you just roll training funds into travel funds? Because it wasn't.
Not in its entirety, but yes, we did. Because also at the time, and one of the corrections that has to be made is that retail strategy, some of that money was being drawn out for the grant writer that we were contracting with. And that's not where it's supposed to come from. But that's okay. It's just a correction that when I talked to Ms. Knox, she said, Jimmy, we'll fix it as we get there, and explain to everybody what we're doing, because the distribution of it is a great idea, but there's just still professional services that I think we could better utilize that money for.
And you increased your advertising budget by $18,000. Where are you advertising and what are you advertising?
One of the ideas that we have is actually to do publications and to do, again, toot our own horn. We need to do that. We have so many individuals that are oil and gas related, but one of the things that I talked to a group about was, look, y'all have risk management every time you have 18-wheelers or white trucks going up and down the highways from Midland, Odessa to Pecos and back. They get here at 9 o'clock and they're supposed to be here at 8 o'clock. They leave at 3:30 to go take Junior to T-ball or whatever, because mom might not be able to do it. It's just an accident waiting to happen, and guess what ended up occurring? Just that. So to us, it's a better idea of going outside of the Permian Basin to Houston and Dallas and trying to find a good publicist that will help market what we're doing over here.
Make a motion to approve the audit and the budget.
We really don't need a motion, do we?
it's a discussion.
It's just a presentation.
Well, then I would rescind the motion.
Okay, item F2, presentation of the Pecos Economic Development Board's quarterly report.
Well, as you can tell, it hasn't been quarterly because, invite me and I'll come down here and I'll visit with you and get you updated. But I kept a rolling total of the projects, and I'm not being vague in what I'm telling you. Some of it is still, we haven't dotted the I and crossed the Ts as far as the contracts go. But I will outline a few of them for your awareness and for the record. Of course, the biggest one that we hit was the housing project. Irregardless of what anybody says, we didn't start this a month ago. We actually started it 1 year ago. We looked at the different projects, the feasibility of what it would take. We had a combination of the 2x6 groups and the joint entities that told us housing. And based on the successes of the Meadowbrook, it also made sense for us to find ways to address the needs of essential workers, government employees. And so that's where all of that started. And I think most of y'all either got a chance to read the press release that came out or had a chance to watch the Facebook video of Congressman Gonzalez. Sorry. But it all worked in our favor. And the icing on the cake was the last time that he was here in April, where he said, don't let anything get in your way. Bottom line is make it happen. Sometimes you're gonna come across a couple of stumbling blocks. Don't let it. And so he had asked. He goes, well, how much did you ask for? And I told him $3.5 to $5 million. And he said, ask for 10. And so we were flattered because his staff told us that it was the best presentation out of everybody that had submitted. And so it was truly a group effort. The next one is a truck village, of course, and I'll pick on Councilwoman Sills because she was the one who brought it up. We attended several meetings, and we continued to attend those meetings. We ended up working with a group that was hired and funded by TxDOT to try and address some of the issues. So right now we're looking at a truck village that would, actually allow us to park as many as 700 trucks. And hopefully that'll take a lot of the problems away from inside the town, as well as deal with the travelers. That grant was submitted, if I remember correctly, Ms. Ramirez, Friday before midnight. We beat the deadline by a few hours, but it was long and stressful. That has been a combination of, again, public partnerships with Reeves County owning a bulk of the land, the Economic Development Corporation and the town of Pecos City owning another bulk of the land, and then us using the portal that the city has for us to be able to go after the money. And as of right now, it's about a $170 million project, with the in-kind match being the land that we have. And the beautiful part about it is that the land is right along two main highways, Highway 285 and Interstate 20. So that'll give you an update on that. The fiber optics is the next thing that the council, or that the Chamber of Commerce and of Monahans and the Economic Development Corporation are tackling this on their end. The judge had asked us if we would all partner up, and we've gone and to one visit. We've talked with them multiple times. So we're looking at underground fiber optic for the town of Pecos City, and then start to look at ways to address the outer regions of Pecos via satellite, or what they call line of sight. So we won't know what the final outcome would be, but the BEAD money that was given by the federal government, which is the allocation of federal dollars, was $42.5 billion inside the federal government, with 3.3 of it going to the state of Texas. So we're preparing ourselves for going after those funds as well. Even though the judge has made a commitment that he wants this done, he wants us to partner up, and we're going to we'll do our best to work with all entities, but it's just another quality of life things for our residents here in Pecos. The next one is the quality of life with regards to the water park. So we encourage everybody on the 15th, if I remember correctly, at 5:30 to be at the Civic Center, so we can start addressing the concerns of people. But again, that's a group effort, because the land is owned by the Economic Development Corporation. They need 15 acres. Well, we have 42 acres that we've set aside for them to decide where is the best place to put the park, for it to be advantageous to piggyback off of the parking that Cyclone has, and then additional parking, and then we'll come up with a master plan for it.
Who's putting that in?
I'm sorry?
Who will put that in?
It's actually a county project. The county will fund that project.
Swimming pool and everything?
Indoor water park right now, with phase 2 possibly being an exterior.
They'll build a hotel too.
That's what they're talking about being able to do.
They might just keep adding to it.
Just keep on doing economic development.
So that's gonna be a two-phase project, the first one,
Well,
the indoor or the outdoor?
the indoor is, I think, the consensus. Mr. Lino?
Yeah, it is, and it's probably, and a lot's going to, we'll probably have a lot more information come Wednesday night, because that's where the public meeting's gonna do, and that's where both of the contractors that were hired by the county to come up with a conceptual design will bring their designs. And right now, the county has earmarked, I think, $45 to $47 million. The commissioners have talked a little bit about what are we going to get for it, and especially the county judge, he doesn't want to do a partial job. He kind of wants to do it right, and it may mean that they have to phase pieces of the park in at a time, but you have to do all of the infrastructure up front. So that's what's making it a little bit different. There's a couple of items that, without, it doesn't matter what the cost is, the way the judge talked, he wants those pieces of equipment inside that building. So there's a lot of talk about the way that the design, about how to do the roof, how to make sure there's light, whether to keep it insulated to where we're not being, having to pay outrageous cooling bills if it's too much facing west. So they're thinking about all of those items.
And I'm going to touch upon two others. One is the land between World Auto and TxDOT, which we were able to procure. I'm sorry, Mr. Graham, but I do need to let them know. You know, for the longest time, the process has always been very difficult to identify how to get, how to purchase government land. Something that we had done in the past, I knew how to do it, so we acted upon it, and we were able to secure 1.67 acres for a little over $300,000. Has a market value of a lot greater than that, but again, it's just to try and create that continuity between Highway 17 and all the way down to the intersection of 285 and the interstate. So on both sides is the goal. And I know y'all are doing your best to tackle the Maxi Park issues. And then I know the judge has a venture that he's looking at with regards to something right there by La Quinta. So hopefully it'll just continue to get better and better. What you will also see is the area right by the Texan. We've already put out the bid for it to be cleaned up. By the end of next week, we'll have picked a contractor to do the same thing that they did at the Troy Vines, and then that way we can start with that 4.94 acres, approximately 5 acres. In addition, the county has allowed us to take over the county yard that is right beside it for possibly additional land that is going to be needed for the water park. So it's kind of a swap. We get some real estate and they get a little bit more real estate to do what they need to do. And then the two projects that I'm going to be as sensitive as I can about this one, I guess. I think some information has already been shared with you behind closed doors with regard to a business that was going to generate as many as 60 employees, and it deals with the expertise of Councilman Rona and Councilman Saldana, so they've been instrumental in helping us get that project over here. The group asked for an additional 30-day extension, and mainly because that's how long it's going to take for the paperwork to get done, not just the contract, but then, you have to use Randa and Permian Abstract Company to finalize everything. But as of last night, they're going to double the size of it, and it's inside the city limits. So you can just imagine what's going to happen. Now, this one, I think they're going to ask for an abatement, but let's not tell them, let's not speak too loud, and we'll just ignore them. And Councilman Seals, one thing that I don't know if you all saw on the budget, the amended budget, but this is the first year that the county has agreed to help fund the Economic Development Corporation. So they are scheduled to give us $300,000 in each of the fiscal years. Now, their time limit started in February with their first allotment to be paid in March, and mainly because that's when they collect the taxes. So in this fiscal year of ours, we'll end up with $730,000 payments. And then we'll collect another one in October, November, and December of their fiscal year. And then we'll repeat it again if we fulfill the contract of the services that they want. So that was kind of exciting.
Can you share what those services are?
A lot of it is grant writing. A lot of it is the recruitment and the land that they own, that they want to, they realize the power of public-private partnerships. And so every time you keep on adding a P, it just keeps on becoming more powerful, as you can tell with the money that came in from the congressman's allotment. So that's what it's all about, is economic development with the focus of it being inside the city limits, the fiber optics that they need help with. So it's just going to continue, and by all accounts, they're very happy.
So you mean when it becomes a public-public partnership, or it becomes more powerful than you trying to do it by yourself, or the county trying to do it by yourself, or
Exactly.
the city, or
The whole idea is that the more stakeholders that are involved, the greater the power of the voice. And that's what gets people excited, that they know that everybody's trying to work on one common goal. And I would love to tell you I want to take credit for that, but I can't. It's the 2x6 and the joint entity. We've just advanced it to a level that is post-COVID. That's all. So.
Well, one of the things was when Congressman
Gonzalez?
came. That was what he was impressed. He was looking around at everybody that was involved in here. And that's why when he made that comment, don't let anything get in the way of stopping something that hasn't been done when all the entities come together like the way they did.
Well, done or tried. I will tell you that it's been very, as trying as it has been and tiresome, it's been very rewarding. It has. And after today, I'm going to take a long nap. I'm going to go have late dinner with Ronnie, but it's good. In addition, I will also tell you that one of the groups that we talked to from Midland is actually looking at bringing their company over here, and they will actually be part of the sales tax versus equipment that is sold from here but given credit to Midland or Odessa, depending. They are asking for a 5-acre tract with 20,000 square feet for warehouse and 10,000 square feet for office space. But again, it goes back to what Ms. Sills was saying. If we don't go and ask, we're not going to get. And so we took the time to go out there to the oil and gas industry meetings that they have, and they were very receptive of coming down here. And they said, get us the land and we'll seriously consider it. So that's the stage we're at right now.
That's an
Yes, sir.
interesting question, because if, you know, somebody in Midland sells some equipment here, aren't we supposed to get it on sales tax? Because it was done in Williams County instead of in Midland.
It should, but right now, the nexus of it from that standpoint is we're going to pick it up in Midland. That's why they're getting it. That's why we need an office here in order to, anything sold here would generate revenue and sales tax.
They don't deliver it.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Doesn't that kind of come back with payroll checks?
Yes, ma'am.
The payroll checks may be delivered to the people out here, but if they're cut by a home office someplace else, then we don't get anything.
We don't, and that's where, the only time that there's any reciprocation is if you cross state lines, and then there's a process to deal with that, but otherwise, intrastate, you're never gonna see those dollars, so you need to, that's where we need to, get some of these businesses to build a brick and mortar here, so that we can have them here, we get the sales tax off of it, and we get the employees that are here spending money in our stores, and that's how we really generate some synergies that we do.
And it's also kind of like 18-wheelers.
No, that's right.
You know, they're driving up and down the interstate and our county roads too, but we don't get any of the tax dollars, the state gets them, and they usually don't share them too much with the individual counties to help keep the roads up. I mean, it's kind of the same
It is, and
situation.
that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of times that, I'm not real fond of doing them, but I do every single one that's there whenever there's either a virtual or an on-site meeting with TxDOT, because Midland and Odessa, with them being the hub here, if you're not at that meeting, they don't care about you. They really don't. And so you have to put the FaceTime in. The judge and I were having conversations about that, I mean, we have to kind of hammer it home. And to Jimmy's point, to Vanetta's point, we have to advocate for ourselves. And historically, we haven't done a great job. But now we can, I mean, I feel like sometimes I'm a bulldog or a bull in a china shop because I'm kind of aggressive. I want our piece of the pie.
Okay.
We want the crown.
No, we
The
don't.
crown.
No, yeah, and that's all they ever give us.
If we get that 700 parking space deal out with those trucks, we'll recoup a lot of that sales tax with the fuel and
Lodging,
and meals and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the first piece of the grant didn't go through, and I'm glad it didn't because I was not happy with it anyway. That's not very nice to say, but it was for just a little piece of it, and I voiced my discontent with TxDOT on the meetings. Jimmy was trying to a couple times give me an eye and say, you can't say that. Well,
He-
Too late.
he said it anyway. I couldn't stop him.
so TxDOT knows that we want all or nothing, and that they're going to have to participate, and that's where the public partnership comes into play. The private piece of it will be if when we start doing some of the retail over there and enter into those spaces with them. So that would be a huge feather in our cap if we can get that, because it'll be the first and only one in the state. So,
Economic development is good if it's in your community, regardless of how many Ps are there.
There,
Absolutely.
that I will agree with.
Jimmy, what have you been spending your incentives on the commercials and
It's next on the highlight.
Okay.
We've actually awarded 7 $20,000 grants to the local businesses here. We revamped the criteria a little bit to make sure that franchises are not going to be included. It has to be mom and pop. They have to be owners of the businesses here. And with one exception is that if they are owned and operated, if they are owned from outside but operated from here, then they could possibly qualify. And then the other criteria is that there is a catch-all, that if the board feels that the project is necessary and that it's worthwhile to do, then they have that ability to approve it. So that's where a lot of that fund is going to. And then
how much are the grants?
$20,000, up to $20,000 match.
Up to.
Yes,
Doesn't
ma'am.
mean they always give the 20.
They have to show us, and one of them was a little bit less. And then the other one, Mr. Graham, was the incentive for bells that came out of this year's budget, but obligated last year. And, you know, it was just an oversight on my part that we didn't catch it. They didn't ask for it until afterwards, but I think the city had paid for it, and then we had to reimburse the city for their portion. I wish I could have got it out in time, but nonetheless, that's one of the big ticket items.
Supposed to spend on the building, or is it?
One of it is general appearance, and then the other one is which is storefront, right, storefront, and then the other one could be infrastructure. We go and inspect it to make sure that it's being done correctly. And then, of course, we ask them to prove that they have spent the money, and on their end first. They're not going to spend ours. You spend it, here you go, then we'll help you.
And you do advertise quite a bit of that.
I actually hit the pavement in week one and started giving out to everybody. And then as we start to see some creativity going on, we'll go and talk. But word of mouth has actually been helping us, because everybody talks about doing it, but how many are going to actually do it?
Would,
Yes, ma'am.
would the grant cover, since you mentioned the word payment, parking lot?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And we've encouraged to, King Shark was one of them, and Terrazas was the other that put the concrete. So,
It's
yes,
just to improve the appearance of the location.
yes. Now, Bells we treated, not Bells, but La Tienda we treated a little bit different because I knew the owners and I knew the senior vice president. And I told him, I said, look, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go find another convenience store, another Marketo, which we had at the time that was looking, or start cleaning up. So guess what he ended up doing? Cleaned it up.
They started with the
Yeah, they started, so, and they've done a great job.
Yeah.
So it's not the same anymore. So if you get it, right, in and out, it is. So before I was just dedicated right to United, and I would shop there all the time. Now I don't. Share the wealth. And lastly, I must give credit to Mr. Bullard and Curtis Wilson, because almost exactly what you said, Ms. Sills, and I know this is long, this has gone on longer than I would expected, but nonetheless, we had to do a study for one, we didn't have to, but we volunteered to do a study and actually count RV parks and spaces that it's easy to do it inside the city limits. And this is actually what started the participation with the judge and the county. We helped count RVs, man camps, what we believe were things outside the community or outside the city limits that were housing people to get a true count of what was in Pecos on any given day. And we came up with almost 30,000 people that are here on any given day. Of that, 9,000 are in RVs and or apartments and or, trailers that they split, or hotels that are being occupied by those groups. So you can start to imagine the impact that we've had in the oil and gas industry. But if you don't have those numbers, no financier is going to help any local. You can put up all your money, or you can sit down and try and do it the right way. And so Jerry and Mr. Bullard helped us, and Jerry because he had access to the 911 and emergency services. Mr. Wilson because him and Gary were out there now cracking down on the septic tanks, and so all of it worked. It was just a great cooperation between all parties.
So you said 30,000, and then you said 9,000
Those are
in the apartments?
there's multiple people living in RVs and apartments
So is
and
the rest of that balance then in the man camps? Is that what it is, the difference there?
yeah. I hope I'll leave to Mr. Lino the things that he can share with you in executive session with regards to these projects.
Good job, Jimmy.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Okay, go on to item F3, discussion on Pecos Economic Corporation bylaws and seals.
I guess you're still on the podium. Ask the questions of me. And this is just in myself reading more on chapter 505, which can be a little confusing from time to time because it does sometimes conflict with itself. This was something that should have been probably addressed sooner, but 4.03 on how a director can be removed. Might want to go back and look at 505.051
Okay.
C, because it conflicts with the state statute.
Okay.
So just, we'll clear it up on that.
Oh, I appreciate
You
it.
know, you never have a problem until you have a problem. And then it's better if you already have the correct way in place to deal with it.
I will take a look at it.
Okay, and then section 4, general duties of the board of directors. 409 states that the board will work with the city to develop long and short-term goals for economic growth. Have you submitted these to us?
You know, everything that I've done has been in conversation with Mr. Lino, letting him know. And I will tell you that we've targeted 5 things, and basically, 1, you know, roads, streets. The second thing is rooftops and infrastructure. The third thing is actually the medical services, and that's a combination of what Ms. McKinney and what hopefully the town of Pecos City work out based on land. Of course, the other is schools, and then quality of life. So when you start to put everything together, that's the order that economic development growth should occur. So the short-term goals are to continue with the programs that were already put in place. The long-term goal is how do we bring in more activity to Pecos? How do we go and make sure that we're dealing with rooftops? How do we deal with the infrastructure that is needed for those rooftops? And how do we make sure that we find people that are wanting to stay here in Pecos versus end up down that interstate? Those are the ways that we tackled the project, because the one thing we heard from everybody was recruitment and retention. You recruit them and you can't retain them. You have no place to put them. The oil and gas industry can outbid anybody. Their employees can outbid anybody. That can't happen with what we're trying to do for our locals if we're going to continue to do the services. The other is that we've also put in a place where individuals that are wanting to come to Pecos, and especially if they're inside the city limits, we're asking them, if we sell the land to you at a below market rate, are you going to help us build homes? Are you going to help us put rooftops on? And we've been successful with 2 of the groups so far. That one I alluded to earlier, they're going to double what their commitment was. And then the other one is that they want to bring 80 employees down here. We've told them, where are you going to put them? We'll give you the land for $1. I don't think we'll do that, but you know, I told them we will encourage and help you with whatever you want to do, but are you going to have that zip code here? Because that's what we need to build. So it is a combination, and I've laxed in that part, but all that information, you know, we go over at our monthly meeting, share it with Mr. Lino, you know, and invite me and I'll come and I'll update you. So, but that's my shortcoming on my part.
I was going to say, this is your Bible.
That's, I want to change the Bible. I will change some of that.
Your Bible is referred to.
And
So
this
it's not-
is regarding the board of directors, so that should be a question to the board of directors, not the director of the EDC. You know, and since I've been here, I don't remember seeing anything from the board of directors. So,
And it also says that there should be an annual plan submitted with the budget.
yeah.
So this is something that,
You can look forward to? Yeah.
okay, so executive director duties, that's in section 7, and it says 7.04 states that you should appear periodically to give council updates. And then 08 says quarterly reports should be submitted to council 30 days from the end of each quarter. And except for the MOU meeting passed, it's the first time we've seen you since August.
Invite me and I can come. I can tell you
It's not a
that.
matter of inviting,
Well-
this is your bylaws, so you should be submitting to be on our agenda.
Well, like I said, we'll change some of those things and bring them back to y'all for consideration.
Because the quarterly reports is a way for you to keep the council as a whole informed all at the same time, so you don't have to
But
have
please keep in mind-
individual meetings with each of us. It saves you time if you address this all at the same time.
But keep in mind, some of the things are truly still in development. And, you know, I don't want it to be let out if it's not
Well,
prepared.
if it's something that needs to go in the exec, we can take it there,
But
if that needs
But
to be
you
done.
share it with the board, though, y'all work back, the board's still meeting, aren't they?
And along with the ex officios.
I want to oversee that, what the board does. I've got confidence in the board that they'll do their job.
Well, thank you.
But it'd still be helpful if we had a report, at least quarterly, on what's
Jeremy, what's going on?
what's going on and what you've done during that quarter.
And then it also states about your annual report due by December 30th.
Mhm.
So that's something else that we didn't see this year.
And we haven't seen it from others. So why are we picking now?
So we have seen it in the past.
Not that I remember.
And that the budget should be presented by August 5th. And this is where there's a conflict too, because in one place it says presented to council, and another place it says approved by. So I don't know, it's probably something we need to get cleared up for your bylaws so that you know one way or the other, whether it's a presentation to us or it's an action item to us.
Okay.
So that you're clear too. Have you had any expenditures on the project?
The only one.
Or on any project over 15,000?
Yes, we did with the study, the feasibility and cost analysis for the housing project.
Because there's an item here that says any.
I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it.
Come
Yeah.
before us. So we haven't seen
Not for
that.
approval, though. He's got a board that approves that.
Given to city council for approval.
I think, in all fairness, a lot of this was, the previous city managers were not CPAs. They were not business oriented. They were engineers. So I really need to spend a little bit of time just going back and taking out the parts and,
But the thing I'm trying to get is that's your board action should do that. I'm not sure that we should be doing it.
But that's not how it's in the
Well, let's take it.
So there's a
Well,
bylaw that
then
the board needs
this
to
is
look
what
at
we're
and
saying, then it
change.
needs to get cleared up. I mean, before we've had these reports, the budget's been presented to us, things like that, and it hasn't been done now.
But expenditure, I don't see.
I don't remember any of the annuals that we got before, and I've been here 6 years and I don't remember it. I remember the quarterlies, but that's about it. But if the bylaws don't apply to today for what are doing now, I mean, that's where the board needs to get and look at all the bylaws and see what applies and what doesn't anymore. So that we won't have this.
Bring them up to date, maybe,
Yeah,
is a good
yeah.
word.
yeah.
So that it's
That
kind
they
of like chapter 505 where it conflicts with each other.
That they reflect the practices, not just the policy, that they go hand in hand. We'll work on it.
Definitely when bylaws are changed or approved by the council, just please every quarterly.
Fair enough.
Make it a point to be here and give us whatever you can as a presentation.
You bet.
We used to get an activity report as well, quarterly. Kind of let us know who you were talking with, and not that we had to have details, but it just kind of kept us informed if you were reaching out to this person or that organization.
Okay. All right.
Good job, good job.
You bet.
Thank you.
And tell your board, they're doing an awesome job too. It takes a team effort to get things done, that, especially now with everything moving, just like the council, we try to bring everything together to support the city manager on this, and then you guys.
We appreciate all your support.
We'll go on to item F4, discuss the Community Essential Workers Housing Project Memorandum of Agreement and Interlocal Agreement, and that's mine. I just wanted to just clear up some things. I know this is a housing project for it's what we're calling essential workers. It's our hospital staff, it's our fire department, EMTs, police department, sheriff's department. And we've got all entities working. I don't understand why any extra units would go to the PPDC if these are supposed to be for essential workers.
And from that standpoint, I think it's going to be addressed. I think the MOU was done as a guideline. I do not anticipate that it's going to be the case in the final document. I shared with a lot of you all, I do plan on having an outside attorney draft the document for us that has expertise in that area so that we can make sure that we don't conflict with all of the other entities from a legal standpoint also.
And then also, since County of Pecos City is now the lead agency, then will monies go to us and pay bills? Will that be in the agreement also?
We'll address it in the agreement. I think we have the conversation with everybody and figure out and make sure that it's done in the most effective, efficient way. The city does have the structure, general ledger structure in place, as well as probably the county to accommodate that.
And can it be installments? Because I know everybody's wanting their interest off of that money in whatever account they have it in. And
Yeah,
so,
we can, and I think we can address all of that when we do get the formalized document, Mayor. The answer is, I don't know yet.
okay.
But those are items that everybody's brought it to my attention, and it definitely will be, Jimmy and I will have those conversations with the attorney and make sure that it's drafted the way that it is, make sure that the county's on board, make sure the ESP's on board, and the hospital, so that everybody's on the same page with that.
Charles, can you, what's his name, Maldonado?
Bobby Maldonado.
Can you ask him what's supposed to be proper? You know, who's.
Absolutely, Randy, that's my plan. That's one of the reasons why it is my plan to engage an outside counsel. Parker's had conversations with him, and Parker is comfortable with me pursuing it this way. If I felt it was like a conflict with Parker, then I would defer and follow exactly what Parker told me to do, because he is our attorney. But he's in agreement with me that we let the person who has the expertise in that area take care of the documentation. And I'm sure Mr. Maldonado will give us the correct guidance on that and make sure that we're following the letter of the law.
I'd like to meet him this time. I didn't get to meet him the other time, so.
Yes, sir.
I just know usually on projects, you kind of pay installments when they meet a benchmark, then you release a little bit more money and a little bit more money. And I agree with the mayor that fire is all the money required up front, and it's not, or it should be dispersed except for in installments as they meet those benchmarks.
Yeah, and it may be on a quarterly basis, it depends on I think the biggest factor is once we get this interlocal agreement drafted and put together, and a contractor is engaged in that contract, we have to look at their timeline, and that's probably going to probably tell us exactly when the monies have to be done, because they'll have milestones in there, and there's certain costs that they'll give us from that standpoint. I think that is going to be the driving force into how the money has to come in to make sure that the bills are paid.
Okay. But before the contractor can even start, we have to have infrastructure in. So do we have an agreement, or like a reimbursement agreement, because the city has to put the infrastructure in?
It is going to have to become, Mayor, and I anticipate that that's coming relatively shortly. I'm going to have the same conversation with Mr. Maldonado, because I think it does require a reimbursement agreement, which is, we've had several before, especially on our Meadowbrook property, and it was a piece of cake. And honestly, if I get my way, I'm just going to copy and paste and do it that way. I don't want to engage.
Change a name or two in a day.
And I don't want to engage another attorney to do something that we already have that's not going to. Of course, I would have to have him again.
Right. That's all I have, unless anybody else has any questions.
I asked Jimmy to come up with a schedule. You know, I want to see what's coming up next. And of course, we're 3.5 months behind schedule with the roads and stuff. But we have the property in progress, we have a grant in progress, grant work, additional funding on project in progress, contract ready to present to all entities. When do you think that might be ready to do?
With regards to,
Put out our contract ready for all, to present to all the entities to sign.
as quickly as, I guess Mr. Lino works a schedule with Mr. Maldonado.
Okay.
When he was here, he did, I asked him if he was interested, and of course, he said that he was, that he would love to work with all the entities here.
Is this to be allowed to discuss this? That'll be it.
The project is on there.
Okay. I'll just make sure.
When are we gonna award the bid?
After the interlocal is drafted and ready to be signed.
That makes sense.
We've had the meetings with the highest rated contractors already, and we've let them know that it would be a period of time before we can award the contract due to the intricacies of this project. I mean, this is something that, even in reviewing the submissions that were done for the project, all of them, several of them were highly qualified, but none of them, they've done projects between two entities before, with a lot of them. There's not they don't have any history. No one, I think, that we're gonna find has history working with 5 different entities at the same time. So this is gonna be a nuance that I'm gonna have to, that's why I want outside counsel to take a look at it, because it's gonna be an extremely complicated project. And we don't want it to be complicated with the contractor. I think we want to handle all of that up front and have a process in place before we do
And I
that.
guess that's why the town of Pecos City has to take the lead, because you have to have one person to talk to instead of 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 people. The contractor, I don't think would want to do business with anybody with that kind of.
Yeah, no, the contractor will be engaged by the city, as far as that goes.
We're not a textbook case, we're a case study.
We are a case
We are a
study.
case study.
Yeah, we have 2 case studies going on, this project as well as the truck parking lot. So
So
we
we're
are,
setting precedents on
We are.
how we're going to proceed and everybody working together and on the same page cohesively, not splitting hairs, just working together.
And right now, from my friends down south, they're very envious. You got a friend? I have plenty of friends. I don't know where close on that list.
I just want to clarify that.
But
Okay, so we're doing work out there now, so clearing it off and stuff.
strictly the clearing piece. We can't do the infrastructure until we get the reimbursement agreement, which will probably have to be fast-tracked. It may mean that we have to have a special council meeting to take a look at that. And I actually probably anticipate that. And I plan on meeting with Mr. Maldonado, scheduling that call next week, and maybe having to have a face-to-face with him as soon as possible to get that done.
So we won't get reimbursed until we have that agreement in place.
Well, and that's where we'll start that. We'll have to have the reimbursement agreement in place in order to satisfy the regulations that are in place related to EDCs in the city, so that we can do it that way.
Sounds like they're all on top of it.
We are. And it's, I mean, sometimes it's like chasing cats, but we're making a lot of
Yellow
progress.
booger, yeah.
And one thing that I explained to the mayor, we started cleaning it out with anticipation that the project would move through or move forward. However, if it wasn't, we were still going to have to clean it out, and we were going to start to do it just like we did in Meadowbrook. The mere fact is the partnerships and all the entities working together. That's the ultimate goal. All right?
Thanks.
You bet.
Okay. Had a note that item F5, we needed to table for resolution 24-05. Okay, do we need to vote on that or just table it?
Just table it.
Just table it? Okay, so we're tabling item F5. We'll go on to F6, update on progress of fire hydrant replacement project progress. Michael Bach.
Two presentations in one day.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Getting really comfortable.
Yeah, kind of. Yes, ma'am. No. Recently, we had a contractor, RES Fire. They came and worked with us. They're doing an assessment on the conditions of the fire hydrants in town. Shortly after that, it took about 2 weeks. Shortly after that, they gave us the results of the assessment, and I think y'all should have them there. I'm hoping.
A lot of fire hydrants.
Yes, ma'am. The Public Works Department, once we received that, those results, we started putting a plan in place to try to get to the recommendations. We're looking at, maybe a 6-month project to kind of get a lot of our fire hydrants up to par. And that's kind of just where we're at right now. Here recently, this week, we started, like I kind of said earlier at the Rotary, we started painting hydrants, which is showing the gallons per minute and the residual pressure on those hydrants, which is something I know we haven't had in a while. So that's kind of like what we're working on right now, trying to spearhead that. And with our new Public Works Director, he's kind of, on me and saying, hey, we need to get up to par on these and let's get these going. So that's kind of where we're at.
What do different colors mean?
Just the gallons per minute that are coming out of that hydrant, that's like a national
So
code.
green better than red?
It just depends how many gallons you're getting out of that hydrant. Yes, ma'am. How much more water you're receiving out of that hydrant, and that's something that the fire department really look at, because they got certain areas they got to go pump water faster to fill their trucks up or pump out more water. Yes, ma'am.
The fire hydrant that's right there across from Crockett in the ditch,
Mm-hmm.
AKA Raceway sometimes.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a working fire hydrant? It's red, so I don't.
Oh, it's red, yeah, and we're
It's not
gonna.
faded red.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we're gonna color coordinate all the hydrants. We're gonna paint them all red. There's some that are yellow,
Yeah.
some that
But I
are
was just wondering
gray.
if it was a working.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that should be one of the hydrants on here. If we maybe look through here, you can probably see what.
Because I'll be shocked if at some point
Mhm.
in the near future, and amazing it hadn't already happened, somebody's gonna come down that dirt
Yes, ma'am.
raceway,
Mhm.
and they're gonna hit that fire
Yes,
hydrant.
ma'am.
Because now with the fencing up, it's even a tighter.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and
I see trucks just to go down there. Why, I don't know.
yes, ma'am. And we usually try to put up barricades around hydrants that we know there might be traffic getting in the way, but also too, we kind of factor in with the fire department, because they got to go hook up as quick as they can to get the water. And if, we got to kind of put them in areas where they're not going to be in the way, but yeah, we do know we got to protect them as well.
And I don't know, with the school there, been trying to help with the fire hydrant too. And maybe city shouldn't even think about it if it's gonna interfere with the construction,
Mhm.
then moving buildings and whatever they're gonna do there.
Mhm.
But maybe we should put something every so often down that dirt raceway to keep people from racing down it and possibly hitting that fire hydrant, or
Mhm.
especially with buildings going in there with kids,
Mhm. Yes,
just
ma'am.
keep them from even being tempted to come down there
And-
as a safety something.
And we're actually able to, and I know I've probably said it a couple of times, but that valve insertion machine that we were able to purchase that y'all approved for us, if we need to, we could possibly move that hydrant. We could add another hydrant further down, move that one out of the way if we need to. If we feel like it's going to be in a way of traffic or something, we could, work with that.
Potential
Yes, ma'am.
hippie.
Yes, ma'am. But yeah, I can look into it for sure, and we can see what we can do there for sure. Yes, ma'am.
And I
Sorry, I
noticed
can't do anything about traffic down the alley.
we're down to 21 black hydrants.
Yes, and those are kind of Kelvin, but like I said, our public works director. That's kind of our main goal, is to get those going. And a lot of those, it could be the stem's broken, which is a simple repair, or a valve closed somewhere in front of it. Sometimes the valves get covered with dirt or asphalt, just through time, and it's just us being able to get to them and make the repairs on them and get them back working.
Yeah, I see that one on 7th Street over there, I go to work. It's kind of, okay.
Yes, or no,
Like I'm
and
still here?
yeah, and with this assessment they gave us, it gives us a game plan. At least we can start somewhere and kind of work our way. But hopefully within 6 months we can get up to par where we need to be.
Y'all have that machine now that you can stop the water?
Yes, sir. That's that valve insertion machine. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, we've actually, when we purchased it back in, I think we got it back in December. I think from December to now, we've probably installed 8 to 10 valves, which, and don't seem like a lot, but it really does help us in the end. We're actually able to add those in our distribution system to help, control water, and then also, for hydrants and stuff, we can add more hydrants wherever we need to. So, yeah, that's good.
You feel that a better place to isolate for isolation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, especially for leaks and stuff that we have, we're actually able to isolate an area instead of having to shut the whole, block down, or the whole 3-4 blocks. We can just isolate that area and make a quick repair, so.
So when you're looking at replacing the fire hydrants, do you prioritize by location, like if there's another one in the area that may not be working well either? Or do you go like this one that just says dead?
Yeah, and that's why when he sent us that, I was like, well, you're saying dead, and like I'm saying, there could be where there's a valve in front of it that's just closed, you know. But the way we were going to prioritize them, talking with Kelvin, it's all the black hydrants. We're just going to make repairs on them as quick as we can get to them. You know, kind of go down the line and just try not to pick. You know, this easiest way. If there's 3 in a certain area, let's try to knock those 3 out. You know, around the same time instead of having to jump around. Let's knock out the main areas where there's 3, 4 in an area. Let's get those done first. So yeah.
Like the one on Alamo and Lincoln, done a ditch on the 1800 block of Alamo.
Okay. Yeah, I can.
That one's black, but it's leaking.
Yeah, and some of that too. We had some calls where maybe he didn't close it all the way, or there might be a gasket inside the bonnet that's leaking, where we'll have to isolate it and then go in there, remove the bonnet, and replace the gasket, or maybe a bolt through time. You know, it kind of loosens up, do stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of little maintenance stuff, and I think that's what a lot of these on that sheet, if you see, are just kind of, I say simple repairs, but stuff that we can actually, I can have one crew take care of those while I have the other crew actually installing valves and putting in new hydrants. So yeah.
I just want to, that's one of my, every 6 months or 3 months, try to bring it up and say, okay, where we at with this?
Yes, sir. No, you're good.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
pretty soon you're not going to be able to, because they do have a plan of action now.
Mhm.
That's going to mean that Councilman Arona will never bring up a black hydrant again.
Well, then we'll
I'll
go the
take
next
some
time.
black, that's no problem.
So yeah.
See
So
if they
yeah.
notice?
Yeah, so like I'm saying, they'll all be color coordinated red. So you might see, you know, there's some that are out there that are yellow. We're gonna go with one main color with them being red, but the bonnets themselves will have that color identifying the gallons per minute out of there. So,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Okay, item F7, discuss, consider resolution 24-05-02R, a resolution canvassing the May 4th, 2024 election results. Sarah Nichols.
Could we have a drink to toast this?
Later.
So in your packets, you're going to find a copy of the resolution, and in there you will see that out of 748 voters that came out to vote in our election, 543 voted for the proposition, with 205 voting against, so the proposition passed. I've already reached out to TABC and the State Comptroller's Office, so they're aware that the proposition passed, and I've already had business owners reaching out so that they can go ahead and reach out to TABC and amend their classification.
Surprised there's not a line to your office.
I noticed that it was already on Facebook, the process
The
to
process.
go.
Mhm. Yes, Edward was on it. As soon as it passed, he was asking, what do they need to do? So it's out there.
People will wait,
Yes.
and hopefully that in turn will bring some other chain restaurants that
Yeah.
that been held
Yes.
back to that issue. And bring more sales tax to the city.
That's how I try to
Yes.
sell it. Well, whether you want to eat or drink, be
Yeah.
more
Mhm.
options.
May I make a
Still have
motion
tea
we
and water.
approve, F7?
Okay. I'll second. Have a motion from Councilman Arona, a second from Councilwoman Trujillo to approve Resolution 24-05-02R as read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show the motion carried.
Thank you.
Item F8, discuss, consider rescheduling or canceling the June 27th, 2024 regular city council meeting.
Okay, Mayor and Council, this is just something I do annually that's going to be the week of the rodeo. So I wanted to ask for your consideration to either cancel or reschedule the meeting. I don't know if you'd like, we can cancel it, and if for whatever reason we need to schedule a meeting, we can schedule one.
I can't believe we're here already.
All
right. It's been fast, very fast.
Because we have one on the 13th.
Yes, sir.
Now
we
let's
won't- and we won't-
move both of them around to the first one on the 6th, second one on the 20th, if it's needed. All right. Special meeting. Huh?
A special meeting.
Because we'll meet 2 weeks later on the 11th. At the sheriff's posse.
I'm good with just having it up 13th, and if we need to have some special, like Councilman Graham is saying, we'll have a special meeting.
Not on the 20th.
On the
No.
20th?
Some of us probably be a little busy.
Yes.
Golden Girl.
Oh, yes, yes, not the 20th.
No, no, no.
So let's do it just like what they said, do it on 13th, and then we'll play by ear for the 27th. If there's a special, we can do it, but not the 20th.
And
Yes.
that's just the night before.
Mhm.
Right.
There's a
The
practice,
preparation and all
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Because I hate long meetings. If we postpone everything or follow it up till the 11th, it's like previous
That's a
predecessor
long
city
time.
manager, we'd be here till 11 o'clock, and I didn't like that.
I don't want to do that.
Matt,
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
what's the motion?
to cancel.
Unless needed.
27.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Graham, a second from Councilman Saldana to cancel the June 27th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show the motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Item F9, discuss, consider entering into a memorandum of understanding with Pecos Barstow Toya ISD for daycare partnership. Heather Ramirez.
Mayor and council, in your packets, you will find a draft MOU that'll be between the school district and Reeves County, the town of Pecos City, and Reeves Regional Health. I do want to let you know this is just a draft. The school board is barely going to present to their school board on Monday, so I'm going to recommend we take no action on this. We'll bring it back to the next meeting. But in the interim, what they're proposing, if it does pass, is I don't know if you've seen the kindergarten. They're ready to go live July 22nd, so it's coming.
Quicker.
Yes, coming fast. There is a couple of things in the MOU that was up for discussion. They have preliminary fees of charging $900 for 6 weeks up to 17-month-year-olds, and then $650 for 18 months to 4 years old. Down in there too, they are asking each entity that the entities can help subsidize these costs to their employees, but they did put a not less than, so that we're not competing with each other. We're not leaving one entity for another for better
Childcare.
child care. Yes.
Not for marriage, it's the same, just less
It's-
expensive.
Yes, less expensive, and I do want, we ourselves at the city have lost employees to the school district because of child care. So I think this is
Or we've just lost them in general.
yeah, we've lost them in general because they can't find child care.
Well, okay, the way I figured this is the employees would pay roughly 58% of the infants, 73% of the older ones, but we have to take that in consideration when we're doing our budgets next year. So we need to know that.
Correct.
And the number of people that would be have their kids in the daycare.
Correct. And so what we plan on doing, me and Charles kind of discussed internally, since it will be going live July 22nd, at our next meeting, depending on if this is what the school board's going to approve as well, we'll bring back what we would recommend on our budget for the subsidizing.
And I
And
had another question. Are they going to follow the school schedule for holidays and closures?
yes, as far as I understand, they are.
Sometimes the school has other holidays than the city, county, hospital does.
And everybody has more holidays than hospitals. And we're 24/7, but they don't have night here either.
Yes.
No, and that's where, President King was saying it's good, but it's not what we want yet.
Yeah.
And the hours of operation that they stated were going to be from 6:30 in the morning until 7:30 at night. But that will accommodate some hospital staff and some shift workers, but not all of them.
I guess I'm going to ask a devil advocate question. Is is doing this just for one particular section of employees okay to do without offering something to everyone?
It would be offered to everyone.
If they don't have kids.
Oh.
I understand what you're saying.
There's an age difference here. So some people.
There is, because it's a retention, it would be a retention program, is the way that it would be structured now. That's the way I think that we would have to write it from a policy standpoint, is that it was a retention program.
That's kind of why I'm bringing it up.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's not something everyone can.
No,
Benefit.
I'm not going to
from.
qualify for those benefits, and I don't want to qualify for those.
I don't either. Been there, done that.
But I think it's good that we're just focusing on the people with kids too, you know, they need to, we don't have a lot of daycares.
We don't have.
We don't.
We don't.
And so I'm pleased with this.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons when I had the opportunity, Heather and I both did, and we toured the facility. I took Terry with me because that's what she did for 40-plus years. And
Have they hired her yet?
no, she was impressed. She told him no. She told him no. But she is having conversations with the.
She a consultant?
Yeah, she is a little bit, kind of a free consultant though. And I asked her about the rates, and she had told me that, she said, wow, those are very good rates. And she said even in other communities, in El Paso, it was for an infant rate, it would have been $1,200 a month.
I'm looking at this as being real steep.
No, they're not.
Oh, no.
They're very
Really?
very
I've been out of that game 30, 40 years.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I asked her how they were, and she said they were very competitive rates.
Yeah, even when my kids were in daycare, this is.
Really?
She is with me. Yes, sir.
Okay. I guess I got modern day information on devices.
Is this gonna mirror the schools, I guess, you know,
Yes. Well, I mean, it's going to be up to,
It's the school's MOU.
yeah, it's the school's
agreement.
MOU, but on the subsidizing portion, that'll be it.
Be
Something.
standard across Reeves
So
County.
everyone's
as-
going to give the same discount, is that what?
No, so it's up to us. It's going to be
That's what you
optional
can
to us
do.
how much if the city wants to subsidize. They just put a minimum, not to subsidize less than.
I mean, well, I know Wendy, who else has to? Who else has? There's quite a few.
do they realize this is coming down on much?
Michael, you got one.
Yeah, he's fixing to be able to take advantage. And then I believe, Lisa, you have some employees too that could benefit from.
I mean, you know, like, when we were doing the insurance, I'd rather us pick up the tab, because again, we can't afford to pay you guys a lot, and we appreciate the work that y'all do, and the commitment to stay and work here, and desire to help the city of Pecos. That'd be another thing that we should do, and to help out anywhere we can.
As long as it's financially feasible.
Yes, ma'am.
Hopefully that's
That's the
forever.
other one, yeah.
Yes, and of course, there is some other verbiage in there that this will be subject to review and it can be adjusted on an annual basis. So it looks like it'll be something we'll bring.
Is anyone going to have more priority over another one?
No, I was told there wasn't going to be more priority, there wasn't going to be priority over.
School gets first dibs and
No.
then
It would-
second
it would-
draft.
it would be equal.
These are gonna
And
get-
That's a
from a
big one.
capacity standpoint, the way that it's structured and put together, it will accommodate 250 children, which is huge. That's huge.
That's big.
Yeah,
That's a mini school.
it is.
Mr. Parker, I'd advise you to put some time in there and take care of kids, and we know what it is to be a father.
I was wondering.
Volunteers, is that what you're saying?
I don't plan on using the facility.
Really
Oh,
encouraged.
come on, partner.
Okay, so you're recommending we don't take any action until the school board meets and we bring this back?
Yes, and once they finalize, I'll
They
bring.
may make some tweaks.
Yes.
I hope they don't have the price.
Okay. Go on to item F10, discuss, consider resolution 24-05-03R, a resolution approving a chapter 380 abatement agreement with HP Contractors. Charles Lee.
Mayor and Council, Charles Lino, City Manager. We started these discussions in executive session last time, and there were a couple questions asked about the timing of everything and the timeline on it. I did provide each of y'all with the stipulations that the EDC put on them. They are supposed to be doing that curb cut this week. I don't know if it happened or not. I haven't been out there. If not, I know it's within this week or next week, and that's whenever the timeline starts for vertical construction.
Is it both ingress and egress?
Yes.
It has to both be in place?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And what we talked about last time, we have one Chapter 380 agreement in. We've done some economic incentive agreements that are just fixed fee. This is what Mr. Pena is looking at, is looking for just a tax abatement kind of like we have with our other entity, which is Wellspring, even though, and this would be for a maximum of 10 years, and strictly for the city's portion of the property tax. And the way that these programs work is the taxpayer has to pay his taxes and then submit to the city a paid copy of the city that it was paid, and then we would reimburse him for the portion of the city's tax. I personally feel like with what he's talking about and in the design that's there, we would recover a lot more money in sales tax. And once the entities go in there, none from his business because he's an attorney and there's not going to be sales tax related to it, but the other buildings that he's building and the other types of entities he wants to accommodate there will generate sales tax, and it would be very beneficial to do
Do
that.
we have a guarantee what other business will go in there, so we know that there will be tax generated?
We don't have a guarantee, no ma'am.
But it's also in his agreement with the EDC that he doesn't let his space be vacant more than 3 months. So
Correct.
he's gonna have
He's
to
obligated to get them
aggressively-
filled.
To have them
But
filled.
what if it's all
Legal offices?
businesses? Yeah, that.
He said he's not. He doesn't want, and again, I think
There's only one.
there is,
I mean,
and.
there's only one that's paying taxes.
Yeah.
basically, or-
No, and I think, and again, this is just me in my conversations. I'm not going to say it in a public meeting, but I think he wants to be the only professional in that in that center.
Well, and then we also will get TERS money.
We will, absolutely. Yeah, there will be TERS that'll come in within 10 years then, and it'd be the full amount.
Go ahead and do it if you don't give him the abatement.
I think he's bought the land, so it's probably going to happen anyway.
Yeah, that's, and things are good right now, you know. I've never been high on abatements. You know, the school had those 313s.
Yeah.
And those worked out good. The school didn't lose any money on those. But it worked out good on those gas plants.
Yes, sir.
But when times are good, though, it's you
And
know, not necessary really to get an abatement.
It's not a necessary item. It is not.
There's certainly a difference in abatement and a pilot,
It is, yes, ma'am.
and this is just a straight abatement.
It is strictly an abatement.
So we're just, and I guess it kind of comes down to, what are we doing for other businesses, mom and pops that have been here for a long time? What have we given to them? You know, do we give them an abatement for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, because they've been here through the thick and the thin?
We cannot. The way that Chapter 380 is written, it is strictly for new construction. So that's when it makes it very difficult, because the answer is, nobody made people aware. And we didn't, I mean, it's normally not, most municipalities aren't going to go out there using that. They're going to wait for somebody to ask for a Chapter 380 or for an abatement agreement, because it becomes too, it could be prohibitive, especially if a place is relying on property tax to a significant portion of their budget. The only reason that I think this is okay is because the city doesn't rely on property tax for the majority of their budgeted revenue. It's mainly sales tax.
It's like, you look at how many businesses have come in, anywhere from, you know, Little Caesars, Domino's, Starbucks, Wendy's, Burger King, none of them.
Well, Wendy's called me after they were doing it, and they said, can we do that? And I said, well, you're supposed to do this before you build a building, so you can't do it after the fact. And they said, well, could we do it on another entity if we brought this another fast food joint in here? And I said, then it would be an option to bring them before the council, absolutely.
10 years is too much, and that dollar amount that I'm seeing before me.
That's not the correct, that's all his taxes. The city taxes is only like
Oh.
total 330,000.
But still, you know, it's, like Councilman Sills is saying, you know, and I've heard this a lot from local mom and pops, you know, y'all are giving these incentives to all these new businesses, what about us? Well, I guess you weren't informed, or nobody presented that idea, or it wasn't around then,
Yeah.
but, you know.
And then I guess the other, I mean, is this just for the city, or is this going to be, it's just?
Chapter
city?
380 is strictly the city's taxes. The county and the hospital and the school district would all be still receiving their pieces of the pie.
And, you know, again, we come back to, here's the county and the
Bigger
school
person.
and the hospital, and here's the city.
Yeah.
This is all we get.
Yeah, and it would behoove him if he was going to do a Chapter 381 with the county. I don't know if they would do it either, but that's how you get the piece of the county. And a 313 with the school. So it's there. The hospital doesn't have a process to allow for abatements, so.
He would get more return from the county than us. And so, I mean,
Is it too late for him to do the school?
No, he hasn't broke ground yet, so no. He could still do all of the above.
I mean,
And we don't know that he's already had it.
I do not know, no.
Or has he
I
thought
read
about it, or does he
something,
know?
Charles, where it was gonna be all retail and stuff, but he's thinking about putting his office.
Well, he's going to put his office in one of the buildings, and he's going to have retail in the other, and there's going to be 3 other.
I can't get my hands on it, but somewhere I read that it's gonna be all retail.
It's not, because the primary purpose of building there is he wants to have a brick and mortar building here, and he wants the whole complex to be nice, because he wants to have a nice office in town. And any of you all that have had dealings that know Hector, he's gonna he wants to make it look nice. So,
we have some of our attorneys who, not you. Doesn't make myself clear. Who don't fit their
Disclaimer.
offices, you know, we have some eyesores along major thoroughfares. You know.
yes, sir.
So, but again, still I have to say, you know, 10 years is too steep for me. You know, I didn't like what we did with the Wall Street Apartments, even though we did that. I don't know how Mr. Seth Sorensen, our nice kitty cat lawyer, finagled 15 years.
I don't either.
Yeah, how they did that, I don't know.
But you know, I've seen like the 313s, you know, those are for 10 years, but each year, 10% reverts back to the.
And you can structure them that way, Randy. There's nothing against it. I mean, this is, and it would be a modification of the current agreement that we had. What I did is just copy the other one and take all the names out of it. And this is for a template to give the council an idea of what can be in the agreement. But it can be restructured however council desires, or not at all.
I'll make a motion.
I'd like to think on it. I mean, I think there's other things to, I mean, I agree with Councilman Rona. 10 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And I would kind of like to maybe see some options on at least maybe restructuring this a little bit, and/or ask him if he has gone to the school and/or the county before we agree to do it.
Yeah, with council's directive, I can absolutely ask those questions.
What about if we deny it, and he can come back and re-present it?
I hate to just deny it.
Yeah.
I think it would be better to look and bring it back if you want with whatever, whatever direction. I mean, does the council want a 5-year? Do they want an 8-year? Do they want to have something to where we recover stuff? Where it's a graduated,
5-year, 20% reduction each year of his, what he gets abated.
Or contingent on how much retail is in there.
I like that.
Well, this also, as the attachments were on the council packet, the actual resolution 240503R, it doesn't apply between the city and the company. That's more of a kind of a form to establish an economic development program within the city and kind of give you what you're looking for and procedures. The 2 other attachments, one is the proposed agreement and one is the business plan, but the first one doesn't actually, it just establishes a program within the city to set the criteria and give kind of guidelines to applicants. As it's on the agenda, it doesn't, the agenda kind of merged everything into one item, but I'm seeing two different things here. There's one is the establishment of the program, and then two is the actual agreement, two different things.
Don't separate them. You wise to separate them.
Well, no, I think the resolution that's on the agenda doesn't actually apply between the city and the contractor.
I think the resolution on the agenda is the original resolution when it was first
The resolution
established.
on the agenda is just the establishment of the development program, not between any particular party. That's just the city's own program establishing it to take in applicants.
And don't get me wrong, I want this man to succeed because he's bringing in new business, but
But the same thing we also have to remember is we do already probably have more businesses coming in. Is every one of them going to come and hit us with this?
When you open the door,
Yes.
it's going to.
the door is closed. And it's hard to put it back in.
So,
Yes.
with a 5-year reduction of 20%, I would go with that.
Or 3 year or something. I mean,
3-year,
because if we
third.
start getting hit
Yeah.
all the time, it's going to start hurting us.
And right
And
now,
then how do you say, well, yeah, we gave it to him, but we're not going to give it to you?
We're gonna stop now.
Yeah.
right now, our economy's good. And what I'm seeing, people are wanting to come to Pecos to build. You know. So they want a piece of the pie, we want to keep our piece of the pie.
To
So
me, you give abatements when you are in a situation, and that's where a pilot really helps you out, because you get that money up front when you don't have it, so you can do the project.
Yeah.
But we're not really in that situation that we used to be in, to where we need to offer this. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that we ever need to offer $1 an acre for property anymore to get someone here.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, that was a one-time deal and paid off, although it wasn't on that property, but, you know, it was a way to get a hook here.
Sure.
But again, so much has changed, and you gotta think about who all's coming into our community and will be coming into our community, and where do you put the plug in, or do you even unstop the bottle?
No, I agree, and there is a potential to do that.
and I never thought it was how you said it. We gain all the sales tax and.
That's the only way that's the way we recover the upfront
Yes, sir.
taxes.
If you don't get the abatement, you still get the property taxes and the sales tax.
It's not going, yeah. It increases the value. Technically, these were created when they were statutorily, strictly as an incentive to get businesses to come here. That's it.
Like I said, I'd be willing to look at 3 to 5 years with graduated steps, in it, that 10 years.
Okay. I can put together a couple of options, take that agreement and modify it a little bit, bring it back to council at the next meeting if you'd
Or
like.
even a cap on how much we will abate?
Up to,
Yes.
yeah.
Let me ask this. Everything, the new construction or the new, like United, Wendy's, all those, that's all new area.
Mhm.
This piece of property is basically old area, but nothing has been set there since I can remember. But in that property, is there infrastructure already?
There is, and we just had a conversation today. There's a need to replace, there's a sewer line going across it. It's asbestos clay. It's old. In certain areas, it's not viable. Mr. Baca had a conversation with Mr. Pena, and he's willing to replace the entire line. We would supply the pipe, the PVC pipe, and it would be our size, but it would put a brand-new line in there to where we would not have problems. It would be a start nipping off, nipping off. He's gonna pay for everything. We're not paying for anything. We would provide the pipe, which Michael says we have an inventory. And it would be at an 8-inch, which is what he says he would recommend it to be. So, I mean, it would benefit both, and that's gonna happen probably, one way or the other, so.
Then the reason I ask that is because of that particular area, when they put the old place change.
Yeah.
I think they went through all that with, and with this business, if he's gonna put retail, if our sewer lines are clay, I mean, we're already having, our infrastructure is not there, but
Well, and
is that, and that's where I was kind of leaning on and I don't understand the abatement. I don't know much about it. And, but the new stuff, the new development that's happening, we're gonna do all that, the city, right? Or the whoever brings in whatever business they wanna bring in. Are they the ones bringing in the, you know, with their construction, are they putting in sewer lines?
Absolutely. The only thing that we would do is put the sewer main that's going to go across the
Okay,
property,
okay.
replace that. The contractor, whoever's, which is HP Construction, Hector's company that he has, would be doing all of the construction,
Okay.
the infrastructure, all of that. The city's not doing any of it. That's not our job. That's not our job.
We're just gonna give them the pipe.
That's correct.
It's a good location, and so what if he doesn't fill it up with retail?
That's, I don't know, Randy. There's no guarantees on that. I know that that's what he's told me he's gonna do. That's what's in his business plan is, and like I say, I don't think he wants any other non-productive or non-professional people in there. Because, I mean, that's just how he comes off to me. So I think he wants to have a cornerstone in there that is probably gonna be, with what he tells me, he wants it to look really nice. He's telling me that right now he has an office in Midland and that he has he shares with the realtor here, but he wants to, that he has a home here, that he wants to be here. And so that's why he's trying to establish a brick and mortar office here.
And it's nice to have new people coming in and bringing in new business that are local. That's what I like.
Well, it is. I mean, it's gonna, the number one thing is it's gonna improve it, whether we do this agreement or not, it's gonna improve the look on 285 and fill up an empty lot that has been there with what all of you all have told me forever.
Been like that forever since I can remember.
Well, you know, I look at United and what's around United, it's taken, what, 5 or 6 years to develop that?
Yes, sir.
I can see him developing that quickly.
Unless he's got some connections.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, totally agree, but he has construction guidelines to where he's not gonna be able to build that building and have it empty per the guidelines that the EDC put on there, nor financially, because if he has empty space, it's not gonna be beneficial to him at all.
What, the EDC, like you said, has guidelines. When did he buy that, and how is he, you know, is it 18 months that EDC says you have to start construction?
It is, and I shared that with you in an email earlier today on both. There were two.
Vertical construction within 12 months of egress and ingress.
Right.
When
And
they
that's
get
what-
in and out the parking lot.
Yeah.
So what month is he in then?
Well, he hadn't
He
started
hasn't
yet
started
because
yet.
everything's been on hold because TxDOT wouldn't allow the curb cut.
But he's bought that.
He did,
In August of 23, though.
in two different pieces.
Part of it in August.
4 lots in August of '23 and 2 lots in, I think,
November.
November, yeah.
Which part did he buy in August?
He bought 4 lots that were in an L. And then the other 2 lots he acquired after the fact. He wanted the whole place,
Yeah.
but initially there were issues on the other 2 lots, and the EDC thought there were other buyers for the front 2 lots. And when that fell through, he decided he wanted the entire block. And that's how the transactions took place.
So the clock's ticking for him.
It will,
Well, it will start.
this week or next week, the clock starts ticking.
I thought that when you buy it, the clock starts ticking.
It was,
It's
yeah, it does, and this was contingent on getting the TxDOT curb cut. And TxDOT, as all of us are aware, can take a long time to get it done, but that is finally done.
I mean, there's some things that's within somebody's control and some things that aren't. You can't control TxDOT when they're gonna come do that curb cut, so you can get in and out of the
Yeah,
property.
yes, ma'am.
Give their permit, but then any time after the 12 months that he doesn't have vertical construction, he has to pay $150 a day.
A day.
So he's got a financial incentive to get it done.
Yeah,
And then
He's
also,
already spending a lot of money with just moving here with his house, and everything that he's doing, so he's vested in the community.
what I can do is I'll work on that, and I'll give you all a couple of different options, just listening what we talked about at the next meeting, and then see what we need to do, and I will give you a couple that we can mark up. I'll make sure that I get them to you early enough to where if we need to mark them up a little bit, we can.
And maybe, I mean, again, kind of thinking about the year term, because if you don't make it too long, then this one falls off when you grant another one. So you don't have 10 years worth of everybody not paying taxes.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion that we table, have Mr. Lino run up some better or more information on that, other options.
Talk with him about the 381, which is cool.
Yeah, I'll have that conversation with him. Yes, ma'am.
It's his responsibility.
Well, I know, but he may not be aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I have a motion from Councilman Arona, a second from Councilman Saldana to table this for other options from Mr. Lino. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show that motion carries. Item F11, presentation of the 2020 Town of Pecos City Audit. Charles Lino.
Mayor and Council, Charles Lino, City Manager. We've had this report for 30 or 45 days, and I'm just bringing it to you now to get it before you, let you see it. Councilman Graham and I have had a couple of conversations on it. There's nothing in this report that I wasn't expecting, and as a matter of fact, the report is better than I thought it was going to be. And part of it has to do with a lot of work on behalf of the Finance Department trying to rebuild and get things done. It's also, to a certain extent, Heather and Deandra sometimes said, we don't know what's going on. So there's some things when you all gave me the directive that I had to still wear that finance director hat, I had to really do a lot of finance director duties, because it was extremely, certain things, especially in municipal government, when your records aren't great, it's an extremely complicated process, and we have to find a way to, from a semi-forensic standpoint, rebuild things that you have some data but didn't exist. And so that's one of the reasons why this took longer than it ever should have. It was ridiculous. But now we have better stuff. So the only negative piece that we got, if you look on this, I guess it's page 3. It says page 2 on it, but I guess that's because the other one's the cover. What we're looking for here is an unmodified opinion. And as you can see, there's 2 areas that have qualified opinions. And part of that had to do with, they're both dependent on each other. The Water and Sewer Fund had a bunch of inconsistencies, and that's what we had to rebuild. And that's what caused that to have a qualified opinion, because the information we couldn't get it to a point to where it satisfied all of the audit conditions. And for that reason, that's how come you see on the second line, business type activities, because the Water and Sewer Fund is a business type activity. And so I had a feeling that some of our other funds would have qualified opinions, but we were able to get the records in good enough shape to where we were able to get that unmodified opinion. The other issue is when we get our next audit report for the fiscal year that ends in 2021, you will still see these on here in this way. And it's because from a reporting standpoint, they have to do it that way from an audit, and then all of this will fall off. And then from then on, we should never have a qualified opinion. If we do, I'm going to be disappointed, because it should never happen. This is the first time I've been affiliated with anything that has a qualified opinion. And so it's disappointing to me. Number one, that it took so long. Number two, that I wasn't able to get it to where it needed to be. But we have a good starting point now. So moving forward, this is going to be, the process is going to be much more efficient, and I'm confident in the numbers that are in this now, that we have excellent financial records. City, from a financial standpoint, is in great shape. We don't have a lot of debt. We have general fund debt that's taxpayer supported is about $5 million, a little less than that. We do have debt on the enterprise funds in both the jail and the Water and Sewer Fund, and all of that is based on our service charges. So it's not impacted by property taxes. So it doesn't impact our taxpayers in any way. Outside of that, I mean, that's kind of a high-level overview. I ask you to take a while and read it. The first part just the way that GFOA prescribes that we do this. There will be another piece that comes into play, possibly on this next audit, if not on the next one, that is going to be another statistical information package that will be at the very back of this, in front of the audit stuff. Whenever we get to that point, and 22 is my goal to get there, and then we'll get back on track, and then I want to submit our financial reports to the GFOA for try to get an award in financial excellence. That's what I'm used to doing, and that's where I want to get our records to. So that takes some time. We got to get through these audits and get them done. But once we get there, I'm confident that our financial statements will be as good or better than anybody else's in the country. But this is not, I mean, some of y'all, it's going to put you to sleep if you read this. The MD&A is probably going to be your best bet. It's going to be like a summary in a narrative format, tell you kind of what the major highlights are. If you start looking at the financial statements and you're not used to looking at financial statements, they can be very confusing, especially when you start looking and there's going to be deferred inflows and deferred outflows. That's stuff that somebody at the GASB dreamed up, and it's just ways to put liabilities on the books that may or may not be there, that you may or not have, but you've got to account for them that way. So,
Charles, when they get up, close to 23 and stuff, 24, are they going to start doing fair market value on all assets?
you're not required to revalue them at fair market value per GASB right now, Randy. The only thing you are is on marketable securities are the only things that we have to do on that.
Because the audit, one of my clients, they started putting the fair market value.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's where still government accounting is a few years behind GASB or FASB stuff. And the only thing that will come in, not this year, but the next year, will be lease standards. And there's some compliance with that too. So the financial statements will get a little more complicated than they are right here.
Thought maybe you waited a little bit longer to present it, so it wouldn't seem like so long till the next one.
That was my intent, Vanetta, but you're not supposed to catch that. No, no, absolutely not. I wanted to get it out sooner, and it's just, honestly, I kept on, I had it, and I would cover it up, and I would cover it up, and then it would be, okay, we already posted, we already posted agenda. Oh, God. So,
Cover it up there. Thank you. I know you'll get us where we need to be, because that's your goal.
we're making a lot of progress.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay. So at this time, we will go into executive session under Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, real estate, 551.074, personnel issues, and 551.087, economic development, and it is 7:25 p.m. open session. It is 8:04 PM. Is there anything from executive session to bring to open session? No. Okay. Items for next city council agenda. I've got F5 was tabled.
F9 and
F10.
I'd like to have an update on the Bourne and Denver situation, see where we're at with it, please. Gotta do my hair for the red
Did you go to
carpet.
that? You went there, Art.
Did you get to see
Municipal judge?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
You went there.
Yes, ma'am. You and I were sitting next to each other.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Jesus, intellectual. Come on.
anything else? Anything else? No? Okay, then I say we adjourn this meeting. It is 8:06 PM.